Hey folks, I know it's been a while, but I am back at the channel. So why have I been gone? Well, a couple of things. 2020, and I've been busy with a lot of other projects. Been part of my own movie, been doing actor stuff, and it's been really crazy. But we are back to talk about film, and I'm so happy to be back here. And the first production we will be talking about is Bridgerton. I have opinions. Okay, so this is not usually the type of movie that I would, TV series that I would watch. I've seen a good amount of period dramas. I did so many period dramas in college, like, yikes. But it's not something that I was really drawn to. I was on Twitter and I saw like this post, maybe like by Strong Black Lead, and it was Shondaland period drama, and I saw this picture of a black guy, and I was like, okay, well, you sold me. Let's see what happens, like people of color in a period drama. And I've watched this, and like, oh, it needs help. Okay, so it's 8 episodes long. I do not know if this is gonna get a second season. I hope it doesn't. Before we start this whole breakdown, the acting is good in this show. I'm not going to blame any of the actors. We're really just going to be just hitting the writing. When I started this show, there is a picture of this man, Simon Bassett, who is like the Duke of Hastings. Now, this is the guy that's like 20. If you've seen anything about the show, you've seen a picture of this light-skinned man. And he is the one that is like trending on Twitter, that is, being put in thirst traps, is like the whole thing. And so I thought he was going to be the main character. He's not. Okay. So it is this girl named Daphne, and we see Daphne in the first like couple minutes doing like the typical period drama thing, like waking up, there's maids around, and like Daphne has an enormous family. There's total 7 of them. Also, 7 children for like 1800s is absolutely insane. Like, people were dying from childbirth like crazy. The fact that she has like 6 other siblings is just crazy to me. There are 3 brothers that all look exactly the same. That's not me being racist. They literally have the same haircut. It took me until the second to last episode to know like who was who. I thought these were all either 1 or 2 people. It was nuts. Anyways, so what is the catalyst for this show is that it is now the marriage season in London, and so all these women are getting married off to their families, and this is the whole conflict of the show. It's the whole driving force. It's very much like a beauty pageant kind of thing. I guess that's the most modern thing to equivalent to, and that's what we're going to. So all the women have to be presented to the queen as they're like coming out or whatever, and just to get her feel, like, what does the queen think of you? And so Daphne is important because she's like the only one that the queen likes. And it's not made clear why, but like Daphne goes up and she's like, the queen is like, I like you. For no reason. I don't know, like she just makes this whim of a choice. As you see in the rest of the show, the queen is messy, so it makes me think like, is she just trying to cause drama? I don't know. But then it becomes a whole thing. When Daphne's like, there's this columnist called Mrs. Witherspoon. And so this woman basically like gossips. It's like, if you've seen Gossip Girl, it's the same concept. Basically, this woman's writing every day, and she's like, hello, fellow Londoners, this is the hot tea, or whatever. And then she's like, Daphne is the diamond of the bunch, and she is the most obtainable woman this marriage season. And so all these men are like throwing themselves at Daphne, and Daphne's like, I'm not trying to get married. And like at first I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but this show does something that I think a lot of other like period dramas don't do. That like the whole reason why is because like they have this whole scene where Daphne's like, yeah, I'm not trying to die in childbirth. And like that's like a thing, that's a constant theme throughout the show. Like other women dying in childbirth, like people like, Daphne's like, I heard mother's screams when like so and so was born, and she's like the oldest sister, so she's heard like 3 or 4 of her siblings be born, and she's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. And I was like, that's an excellent point. I understand the fear. So to Simon Bassett, the reason why most people are probably going to watch this show. So Simon Bassett comes in, and he is the Duke of Hastings. Now, for reference, I had to look this up because I was a bad actor in college and didn't pay attention to like the rankings when I did these kind of shows. A Duke is like pretty high up. It's a big deal. Like keep that in mind as we go along. He is the Duke of Hastings, and so he comes to town and says, I'm the Duke of Hastings. I'm gonna do stuff. And so we learn very quickly that his whole thing is like, I do not want to be married. I do not want children. I just want to be rich and live in a country house and like sane, relatable. And he's friends with Daphne's older brother, who is the Viscount, which is a stupid name, but he's the Viscount. He's a lower rank, and he's like the head of the family, even though he's like 25 because her dad is dead. It's stupid. The show does address it, but it's still dumb. When they're hanging out, and then Daphne's like, I don't want to like marry any of these broke boys. Who's this? It's like, oh, I'm Simon Bassett, and Daphne's just like, hey, what's happening? Like, just chopping it up, and then he's like, hey. I understand that, like, I'm the Duke of Hastings, and you want to be the Duchess of Hastings. I see through you, so I'm not interested. And she's like, I didn't, like, want you anyways, which I'm suspicious about, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, and she's like, I didn't want you anyways. And then she's just, like, talking crazy. Like, she's just, like, they're going back and forth. A very, like, Harry Met Sally thing, like, I hate you. And I'm just like, that is the Duke of Hastings. She does not care. She does not care about his rank or status. And so basically we go along, and they're like, wait a minute, let's use this to our advantage. Daphne's like, hey, there's also this really creepy, like, really, like, predatory dude who wants to marry Daphne. He's gross. And her older brother's like, yes, I will secure this marriage because, I don't know, he wants to prove himself as a man. That's like half this show. But they go along, and then Simon's like, hey, I'll pretend to court you so that you can, like, raise your status, and then women will just leave me alone for the season or whatever, and then I'll just go back to, like, my country home or whatever. And she's like, bet, sounds good. And so, as with every, like, period drama, they eventually fall in love. And what I really actually did like about this show is that the running theme that they say is, like, friendship is the basis of love, and they're like, you have to marry your best friend. And, like, I always have thought that that's a really, like, corny thing to say, but this show was really cute where it was, like, I liked that they were, like, scheming together, and they, like, had inside jokes, and that, like, they genuinely did like each other. Daphne falls for him hard, and this is where stuff starts getting a little, like, this is where the problematic stuff happens. Also, an important point to note is that Simon does not want to have children because he has, like, childhood trauma with his dad. It's this whole thing. He basically does not want his lineage, he doesn't want his title to pass down to his son, so he doesn't want to have children. Daphne does not know this. So basically, Simon is, like, kisses her, and, like, back then, if you kiss a woman, her honor is just, like, gone. It's gone. She's now has to be poor because someone kissed her. And so he has to marry her to save her honor. So they get married, and, like, Simon's like, I don't want to. Like, it's, like, kind of this whole thing of Simon's like, this is my obligation. I don't know if I really want to be married. And Simon's like, and this is, like, very key. Simon says, I can't have children to Daphne. And, like, if you marry me, I can't have kids. I know that you want a family, so I'm just going to communicate that to you. And she's like, I'll marry you anyways because of love. Now, here's the truth of it. Simon can have children. He just doesn't want children. And that becomes a big point of conflict later. So they get married. It's chill. And, like, there's this whole, like, just, I want to say almost a 15-minute montage of them just having sex everywhere. Like, when I tell you, like, they move into, like, the estate outside. It's everywhere. It's such a long montage set to a acoustic cover of Taylor Swift's Wildest Dreams. They knew who their target audience was. They knew, and they sold it. So this happens, And, Simon, because he doesn't want to have children, does not come to completion during these sessions. And so because this is the 1800s, Daphne doesn't know how children are conceived. And Daphne starts putting two and two together. And then she's like, okay, I have to get him to, impregnate me. And so this is where the show gets really messy. They are, having sex. And so basically, this is about time for Simon to pull out. And then Daphne does some, acrobat trip, hops on top, and, basically, this is, basically just sits on top of him and is just like, you're going to put a kid in me. And he does. And Simon's like, I thought that we were, no, I did not consent to this. And she's like, well, you lied to me. You can have children. I know how babies are made. And Simon's like, okay, yeah, I lied to you, but what you did right there was not consensual. And so you would think that the show in 2020 would be like, okay, let's talk about this. This was, really nuts that she did this. No. This is, literally never brought up. This happens maybe in, episode 6 or 5 or 6. This is not brought up for the rest of the show. This is, basically halfway through the show. And so Simon's like, hey, if we have a kid, I'm going to be a good man and raise that kid or whatever. If we don't, I'm not going to divorce you, but basically we are married in name only. And I don't think that that's a nuts thing. This show really wants us to believe that Daphne is the one in the right. This show has this real obsession with, making the black character seem sexualized but not desired, which is very weird to me. This show is, really trying to convince us that Simon is so lucky to be with Daphne and that Daphne is saving Simon. I'm sorry, Simon is the Duke of Hastings. Her brother is the Viscount. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the Viscount is, at best, a congressman, a state representative, a state delegate, you have some power, but you're not important. The Duke is, the governor. So, take the governor of your state, and then take, maybe, your local representative. That is the gap of power. And this show is trying to convince us that Daphne is somehow the one elevating Simon's status. And I'm just like, woman, if it was not for the queen saying that you are special, none of this would have happened. And there's, even a line, and she's like, I don't care how broken or deformed you are, I'll fix you. Literally, that's the line. I'm just like, what about this man is broken or deformed? There's a subplot of him having a stutter, but then this is really weird. They had this whole thing of he had a stutter, and his father basically disowned him because he had a stutter. Which for the 18th century, that's what happens. And then she finds out about this near the very end, and she's like, oh, this is why he doesn't have kids, because he has childhood trauma. It's like, I'll fix you. And then his aunt or whatever, Lady Danbridge, is like, yeah, no, the stutter's gone. He's good. He's perfectly adjusted. He's honestly really gotten over this whole thing. And he just has boundaries. He's processed this whole, as far as your dad shutting you away in a dungeon for having a stutter, I think he's really well adjusted. And she's just like, I'll fix you. I will provide you everything you need. And then for some reason, after, basically sexually assaulting him and, basically tricking him into impregnating her. She doesn't have she doesn't get pregnant at that time. But, after all of that convolutedness, he's like, I love you. And I'm just like, what? That is not how a human would react. If you make this whole, for the past 7 episodes, you'd be like, I don't want kids, I have very firm boundaries. Daphne crosses those boundaries, and then you're just like, and he's honestly very conflicted. And even after the sexual assault, she's like, oh, are we gonna have sex? And he's like, no. What you did last time we had sex was not cool, and I don't want a repeat of that, because that did not make me feel good. And then she's like, you're so stupid. And she's pouts off, and then we're supposed to feel bad for her. And basically, after all this convolutedness, in the very end, they dance in the rain, and then they like are implied to have sex, and then we go like, I guess like a 9 month time jump, and then she's holding a baby, and I'm just like, I I feel bad for Simon. Simon basically Simon did not tell the truth about the fact that he didn't why he didn't want kids, but he's like, I don't want kids. And they don't like really like do the work of him maybe coming to terms with that. We're just like, oh, Simon just like compromised on like the biggest thing about his character just to make Daphne happy. And that's the issue with this show, is that like there aren't a lot of like there are black and brown characters, but they still are so subservient to the white narrative. Like the Queen of England in this is black, and that is historically accurate as well. And what's really interesting is that King George III was like had dementia basically, and she was like ruling in his proxy. And they talk about that a little bit, and like how sad that is. But they like we get like maybe like 1 or 2 scenes about that. Not even scenes, like it's like a clip in a montage about that. But then the Queen, the Queen of England, mind you, is like, oh, Daphne, you should marry Simon. And she's just like this kind of like auntie that pops in and is like, hey, what are y'all doing? I want a matchmaker. And then like every black character is just so like invested in Daphne, and like everything is just like she's the protagonist of the show, but like it's just, even though there are black characters in positions of power, like everything is just bending so that she can get her way, which it's just dumb, and I just don't like it. And the real problem is that Daphne is the most uninteresting character in this whole show. I'm sorry, like every character that has a name is more interesting than Daphne, and with the protagonist of their own show. Even her 3 brothers that look exactly the same. Daphne's like, oh, she'll play the piano, and I don't know. Like, there's nothing interesting about her. And she just doesn't, she's just so boring. Like, and that's just why I feel bad, that everybody's world has to revolve around this very uninteresting protagonist. Simon is just such a more interesting character. And I think the worst part about this is that, like, when you like, before I started this review, I was like, let me see what Twitter say. No one is really talking about the whole like sexual assault thing. Like no one's talking about that, and that's like such a big point in this. No one's talking about that. Like literally you like do hashtag Bridgerton. It's just shirtless pictures of Simon and all the other black men on the show, and that is the point I would like to end on. Simon is like either like butt naked or shirtless in every single episode. Simon does not get any of the character development that any of the other main characters get, especially being the male lead of the show, gets no development, is basically just like objectified all the time. I like black people being included in period dramas, but like we need to work on how we include them, because one, the fact that every black character is like lighter than a paper bag is a problem. There's a lot of colors in the show. Everybody's either like super light, like everyone, no one is darker than a paper bag in the show, except for Simon's friend, who was a boxer, and they make it very clear that he's of low class. Yeah, it's racist. And then the other dark-skinned bandit is Simon's father, which, okay, this doesn't make sense. Simon's mother is like a brown-skinned woman, and then Simon's father is like a dark-skinned man. And I'm just like, that math does not add up, but okay. And he's like very abusive, and it's just like, can like a dark-skinned person not exist in a period drama without you guys like giving them something nice? Overall, I would say that Bridgerton, I would give it like a 5 out of 10. Those first 4 episodes are really great. It does fall apart. It's really problematic. Everything is problematic nowadays. But in these COVID times, if you just want to watch some really nice costumes and watch like 18th century Gossip Girl, go right ahead. But overall, it's just, I gotta do better with black people in period dramas, guys, and not just period dramas during the 50s and 60s. Like, figure it out. Anyways, those have been my opinions. Like and subscribe.